So it's so crazy. Okay, so I just got done bathing, and the whole time I was debating, like, do I want to do this video or do I not? Like, I don't know, because there's so many things I want to say. Maybe I'm gonna have to break it up in different Kurena's views, because I'm trying to keep these videos in this series short. I'm just like, I don't know. And it's because it's about race, and I have so much to say about it, you know, race and language and all that. And I was like, I guess I won't, because I don't know how to do this. So maybe I'll talk about something else today. And then the first comment I see when I got back on my computer was this one. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Because if you get through this video, you'll see just how connected this comment is to what I'm talking about. So with all that being said, the first thing I'm gonna do is just flat out address the concern of my race. So I am African American, and I talked about this a very long time ago in a very angry rant where I was just like, I'm African American. And you know, I'm half African and I'm half African American. It doesn't get any blacker than that. The thing is, I'm light skinned, so like really pale. And so my sprite doesn't look like me. She's like the essence of me, if that makes sense. Because I mean, she barely has any details. So she can't look like me. We don't have the same hair color, and obviously our eye color is not the same. Okay, I just thought of it while editing. She looks opinionated. That's the essence of me that I was trying to capture in like her facial expressions and her motions and stuff. I can't believe I never realized that till now. It was always like an instinctual thing. But anyway, back to whatever I was saying. But her facial expressions is the essence of like half the facial expressions I make. I actually smile quite a bit. And it's funny because you'll hear me laughing in a video, but when you see Kurena moving in the animation, she's looking angry because that's just the way I drew her. But anyway. The point is, my voice, my face, me as a person, there's so many dynamic things about it that I confuse people all the time, in person and online, because none of it matches up. Prime example, one little detail I can tell you about myself is that I have a baby face, but my voice does not sound like a baby voice. Like, I sound like a kid to people. They're like, this grade schooler, this stupid little brat, you know? But my voice is obviously deeper than most girls. And honestly, I think that's the only thing that saves me, because people look at my face and they just think they can disrespect me. Like, they be talking to me like I'm stupid. And then I open my mouth and there's like, oh shit. So there's so many things about me that just don't match up. That largely warped who I am now as a person and my worldview. So as I'm jumping around, just to give you one more example leading back into race, my first day of school at this new school, I walk into the classroom and all the black people are sitting together on one side and all the white people are sitting together, and then all the Mexicans are sitting together. And so I walked in and the first thing I said was, why is the room segregated and shit? Like, I was just so confused. It just came out because I wasn't trying to be offensive. I didn't think it was offensive to say. I've grown up around people who are very, very blunt with their words. So nobody was offended by me. Nobody got mad at me or anything. They knew it was true. Like, everyone was very strongly separated. So I ended up sitting with the Mexican kids because they were kind of like mixed with different things. And I was mixed, you know, even though I'm not mixed, if that makes sense. Because I'm not mixed. Like, I don't fit in with that's the hard thing about being a light-skinned black person. It's like, you don't fit in with any group because you are black. You're not mixed. So you're not in the mixed crowd. You don't have their lived experience of being mixed and having two parents from two different races in that sense. You know, I am mixed in the sense where I'm African and African American, but I've grown up around black people my whole life. So culturally, I am just black. And it's just like, you try to talk to black people and you could talk to one black person and they connect with you immediately. As soon as they look at you, they talking to you like you're one of them. But if you talk to another black person, they think that you're trying to be black when that's who the fuck you are. And then you talk to a white person and they just treat you like a normal person. I've never had a white person try to connect with me as if I'm white. I've never run into a white person who actually thought that I was like them, okay? Because I don't look like that. But the point is, you'll talk to one person who's white like that, but you could talk to another white person who thinks that you're trying to be, again, like black, or you're trying to be something that you're not. And it's like, I'm just being myself. So you never fit in. And that actually gave me a perspective where I looked at everything from an outside perspective. And that's why I don't really agree with communities and stuff, because a lot of it is just echo chambers and tribalism. Like, even for other Black people who are just light skinned, but like, you know, they're like more coffee color or even like milk chocolate. They're not like dark. They get treated differently from darker Black people because they literally call it the light skin lottery and stuff like that. And that creates this tension and all this stuff. I had an ex-friend who literally was acting like I had it better than her because I was paler than her, but she wanted my hair because my hair was more typically Black than hers is. And I came from a much harder circumstance than her. She literally grew up in the suburbs, but she literally told me that she wanted a Black best friend and I was her best friend. So I'm like, I am your Black best friend. And she was like, yeah, but I want like a Black best friend, you know? And I was like, I am your Black best friend. You can see why we're not friends anymore. And the most ironic part is that she was light skinned, by the way. Like, she wasn't as light as me because I've never met anyone as light skinned as I am. Like, I'll literally burn alive in the sunlight without sunscreen, like a vampire. I've been called a vampire. Honestly, even with 100% sunscreen, I still burn in the sunlight. Like, I need an umbrella or a hoodie, or like I need to cover up my face with like my hair or something. Or I just stand in the shade when I have to stand outside because I have to hide from the sun or I'm gonna burn alive, like within the hour. And it's crazy. Like, I wore like a shirt and I was standing behind this pole in the shadow, okay? Just in the shadow waiting out in the summer, and I still got sunburn through my shirt somehow, even though it was covered. I was wearing a hoodie and the sun, the heat somehow reached through the shade, through my hoodie, and burned the fuck out of my shoulder. It was ridiculous. But she was like milk chocolate colored and she's, you know, talking to me like this, which was just, it's insane. She was like, well, you know, I just want somebody who's going to tell me, like, you know, what's going on, like if I'm messing up or something, you know? And I was like, I do that. And she was like, yeah, but like they could just be like, you know, girl, you probably shouldn't be doing it. I was like, I do that though. And my other Black friend, when I was telling her about it, was just like, she wants a stereotype. I was like, right? Like, if that wasn't the most racist thing. She wanted one of them girls from the TV shows who'd be like, girl, let me tell you what's going on. You need to get your shit together, girl. Like, she wanted like some sort of friend like that or something. I was like, ooh, hell. Anyway, so those type of dynamics just always gave me this more outside perspective, because I can see, because of the overexposure to people's initial reaction to me and how dynamic I am, I can see how it affects other people. And I just decided right now I'm gonna make this a let's talk, because this is gonna be longer than a Kurena's view. So I'm gonna try to get this up on Wednesday. But the point is, from that overexposure, I can tell when I'm coming across someone whose racial bias is affecting how they treat me. And I didn't want to be one of those people because of how stupid they are, how biased they are, and closed-minded and all that. So one thing I do to constantly remind myself to try to provoke a more objective perspective with communities, when speaking on a community, instead of me saying us, we, our, I say they, them, those, they are, stuff like that, because I'm trying to look at it from an outside perspective. And just, people don't understand the power of words. Our brain works off of patterns, and the more you indulge in those patterns, the more it runs with it. So just you simply changing your language to us, our, all that, makes your brain feel like you're in this group and you start to think as a group. So, you know, some people may be more strong-minded than me, and maybe I'm stronger-minded than I think I am, if that's a term. I just never gave myself the chance. I never wanted to risk it, talking like that and then being part of that. So when I speak on Black issues, I always speak in that way because I want to be a little bit more objective. And then the separate thing I want to get into is the fact that I like confusing people. So I like to confuse people because of the whole idea of cognitive dissonance. Again, being a dynamic person, there's so many things about me that triggers people's cognitive dissonance. And this goes back into the Black Mirror theory. And I'm going to keep bringing that up to remind myself that I need to do a video on it eventually, because I've learned so much more about that theory that I want to share with you guys, but I still don't know how to explain it yet. But a big part of the theory is when people's cognitive dissonance are triggered, that's what makes them so toxic. And it's because when you're in a state of cognitive dissonance, you have two choices. If you have two conflicting ideas that cannot exist at the same time in your head, you can either address it and understand the reality and the nuance of it all and grow as a person, or you can live in denial and fall into doublethink, where you just believe them both at the same time, or you believe one when it suits you and then you believe the other one when it suits you. And you'll just argue them both and go crazy. And it affects your cognitive decline. I firmly believe that. So when I'm talking to people, or even when I'm making YouTube videos, I like to confuse people. I like to trigger their cognitive dissonance because that gives me an opportunity to see who they are, and it reveals to everyone else who they are. So that's why you see my thumbnails when we were talking about the whole, like, me having quote unquote clickbait thumbnails. They're not even clickbait. Clickbait is when you like circle something on the screen and that's not in the video at all. Or when they say this new AI bot is gonna clean your house and it can't cook, it can't clean, and it doesn't look anything like the thumbnail. You know, that's clickbait. But my thumbnails are interpretive because I'm an artist, and that's what people don't understand. And my art is centered around emotions, feeling, interpretation. This goes into the whole empath discussion where I have to make a video on empaths and stuff. But all those things about my mentality tie into how I craft my thumbnails because I know how to make it interpretive. I know what I personally believe with this interpretation, and I know that when people see it, they're gonna fall on a spectrum of ideas. But I do it that way because I don't want you to know what the video is going to be about specifically when you see it. So what the video is about is technically in the thumbnail. It's just so broad and interpretive, you're not gonna be able to pin it down. And I do that on purpose for many reasons, but two big reasons is because one, commenters like to fucking attack you and sabotage you when they know what your plans are, so I don't wanna tell people what my plans are. And secondly, people fucking steal content. So I definitely don't want to have people trying to stalk me and then jump on a topic before I can and then accuse me of stealing from them. So if I make the thumbnails interpretive, but what I believe is technically in it, then that gets around all that. But separately from that, I make sure that the interpretation triggers people's cognitive dissonance, because they're gonna go in a state of cognitive dissonance. They're gonna be like, I don't know how I feel about this. And if they're stupid and crazy, they're gonna act stupid and crazy in the comment section. If they're kind of on the fence, they're gonna possibly act a little stupid and crazy and then fix themselves. And if they're critical thinkers, they're not gonna act stupid and crazy. They're gonna listen to the logic despite the cognitive dissonance going on in their head. They're gonna face it and try to understand the reality. And that's the community of people that I'm trying to foster. Like, if I ever do grow on YouTube, I want to grow with a community like that. If I can't have that, then I don't want it at all. Like, people really have no idea that my thumbnails are serving multiple purposes. They really think that it's just like some basic ass thumbnail that I threw together, but there's layers and layers of things that I'm doing when I make them. So I just want to give you guys some examples of, wow, I can't believe that's only 13 minutes of recording. I'm getting through this pretty fast. But I want to give you guys some examples of just dynamic things about me that made me into this person. So I told you before, my face versus my voice gets people every fucking time. When people talk to me, they legit think that I'm a child. Like, they literally think I'm a little kid, like just hit puberty or even that. And I don't know why, because I don't think I look like a literal child, but there are some kids who look older than they are, so maybe that's why. And the face that I have, like, they be thinking I'm the sweetest little girl on earth who just can't handle hearing any negative thing whatsoever. They just think that like I've literally had people, I was playing Cards Against Humanity with some people, and they wanted to put something down that was really like vulgar, like super vulgar, and they were just like, are you like a goody girl, you know? Like, they looked at me and asked me that, and I was like, I'm the one who played the card about cum buckets. They were like, oh. I'm like, I'm playing Cards Against Humanity. Like, why would you even ask me that question? That, like, if you were a good judge of character, you would know if this girl is playing Cards Against Humanity and she isn't looking all weird at everyone, then she's clearly not this super innocent, can't ever, you know, kind of person. The girl next to me had a more adult face, more mature face, and she was actually the one who was quote unquote goody goody. She was getting offensive at certain cards. She's like, you can't play cards like that because that's offensive. But nobody expected that from her because the way that she looked. So those are things where, like, constantly when I'm talking to people, their cognitive dissonance is triggered. And I've been in a lot of toxic situations because of it, because they don't know what to believe. Their reality is shattered and they have to attack me to fix that. So again, that's a whole other thing, but that's why I've been so exposed to abuse my whole life. That's why I was bullied by my entire school, because I was a dynamic person. People just, I stand out. I cannot get into a line twice and get a free thing. Okay. Like you're never going to forget my face if you see me. So not only do I draw people's attention, but nothing matches up. Nothing about me matches up. So then when it comes to language, like I am doing a video that I think is going to go up after this one, if I'm putting this up on Wednesday, where I'm basically telling you guys that I disassociate a lot. And no, I do not have DID. I'm not schizophrenic. I'm not bipolar. Okay. So I'm not going in depth about it on Sunday, but I'm gonna try to get up on Sunday and I'm gonna try to explain some of it, but I plan on explaining most of it, if not all of it, much later from now, maybe in a month or two. So the point is, I dissociate. When I was a kid, I pretty much fronted as an altruist my entire life, like a full-on, whole empathic altruist, which is about as good as you can get. Like, I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't want to offend anybody. People would, like, accuse me of stuff that I didn't do, and I would be beating myself up for hours, even though I knew I didn't do it. Because in my head, I thought it was so awful that I could hurt somebody, you know, like all this stuff. So I was super, super, super altruistic. Like, people would be putting their hands on me, and I would not fight back, because in my head, I was like, I do not want to hurt that person. Even though they're beating me up, it does not get any more altruistic than that. So when you live your whole life like that, you know, physiognomy and kinesics is a thing. And when you live your whole life like that, it leaves a print on your face, sadly. Not only was I born with a baby face, but being an altruist my whole life left a print on my face where, even though people don't understand physiognomy and kinesics, we all have some subconscious understanding of it. That's why we call certain eyes crazy eyes, because oftentimes crazy people have those eyes. Those are the kind of subconscious thin slices people can make about someone's character. So even though people don't understand all the nuances of, like, me when they look at me, subconsciously they can see that I grew up as an altruist. They can see that I was a pushover growing up. So they kind of get that idea of me when they look at me, and then they treat me like that. But the cognitive dissonance comes in where halfway through all of that, I changed, because I didn't know what abuse was pretty much my whole childhood, only until recently. So once I finally figured out what that was, then other versions of me started to front, more aggressive personalities, and ones where I will defend myself and stuff like that, and physically, verbally, however. And I'm not going to beat myself up if I'm falsely accused for something I didn't do, like stuff like that. You know, they're different versions of me. So that leaves more of a print on my face that's conflicting. So it's like I intimidate people when they look at me, but at the same time they think that I'm just this pushover, which is conflicting. So not only do they try to talk down to me or do stuff to me that they can get away with because they think I'm innocent and naive, but because they're intimidated by me at the same time, they try to give it everything that they got. So that's why I constantly attract, like, the most toxic impulses of people. Like, friends will introduce me to people and their friend was treating them okay the whole time, but the second they meet me, like, all I did was say hi, they'll just start losing their mind. And oftentimes I've had people tell me, wow, they never acted like that before. Like, I don't know why they were acting like that. And it's because their cognitive dissonance is triggered and they're not dealing with it appropriately. So last example I want to give you guys on this whole thing is the language. So I am a very vulgar person. Again, this is coming from somebody who is an empathic altruist. Everyone in my school when I was in elementary school was cursing like a sailor, okay, from like first grade, just swearing all day, every day. And I thought it was so wrong to do it, so I just would not. Okay, I'm clearly very different from that now. But the point is, I say words that people think are really offensive. You know, like I say nigga, I say retarded, and people think that that's like super offensive. And again, the reason why I don't relate to people is because of the times when I use it. I'm not making fun of people who are mentally ill, and I'm not talking shit about black people. Or if it is a black person, then I don't mean it in that way. Or they're like an Uncle Tom, maybe. I might call an Uncle Tom, you know, a nigga in a mean way, but I think it's warranted. So it's just funny to me because I did this video about this dude who was just being racist as fuck. And I called him retarded a few times, I think, but I definitely said it at least once. And I called him retarded because he was literally saying that black people were exhibiting animal-like behavior and just pretty much shitting on their intellect the whole video, which was the most racist thing he could do about the George Floyd incident. So I said all that stuff about him, and I honestly think that videos like that need to exist because I, with people looking at the outside, would be the stereotype of what he's talking about. I would never riot. I don't want to be a part of a riot. If a riot happened while I was there, I'd be trying to get the fuck out of that situation as fast as possible and as safely as possible. That is me. But stereotypically, just the anger, you know, and the way that I'm speaking sounds and looks like those people in those riots. So I think that even though that was like a different version of me, I'm not talking like that right now, obviously. I still want to take responsibility for what I said, but taking responsibility doesn't always mean that I'm sorry. I still think that those things needed to be said. That's why I left the video up, because I think people need to hear someone like me, someone who looks like that stereotype, telling a guy how stupid he is. Because you just called people like me idiots, basically, and said we have irrational animal-like behavior. So hearing someone with that irrational behavior dismantle how fucking dumb you are, it's kind of important. And if people don't understand that, that's fine. But the fact that you're getting more offended at me calling him retarded than him being racist as fuck towards black people who are being treated like literal garbage from their community, I mean, you really need to take a look in the mirror, sweetheart. Just like that video I did recently about the Melanie Martinez thing, the very people who were calling her a rapist, a literal rapist without any actual evidence, were mad at me for calling her movie retarded when it was pretentious as fuck. It's just, that's why I can't relate to people. And it's like, people use language that I don't agree with all the time. They make jokes that I don't think are funny, say things I don't think are okay, but that doesn't mean that I hate them, and it doesn't mean I always disagree with them as a person. Blair White is somebody where I disagree with a lot of shit she says, and sometimes she just straight up sounds stupid to me. But it doesn't change the fact that she has important messages to share that I do understand. I can separate anything offensive or what I view as dumb that she says from the things that she says that are objectively true about trans people and how they're mistreated, and specifically trans children, and how important it is for us to take their circumstance more seriously and treat it more carefully. So I still watch her content, even though I definitely disagree with her on a variety of things. And even though she can be pretty offensive sometimes, doesn't mean that she shouldn't be able to speak. Because it takes a certain mentality to talk about the things that we talk about. If she didn't have that mentality where she had that like more offensive nature, she wouldn't be doing those videos in the first place, and she wouldn't be helping the trans people that she helps. So it's the same thing here. You wanting this perfect person out here who's going to pick up the mantle for black people and how black people behave casually, like their language, their words, how they want to speak on stuff, and be respectful and super like serious and calm and like all this stuff you want from somebody who's getting attacked by a bunch of random fucking people online. That person doesn't exist, and if they do, it's one person, okay? You need many people talking about this stuff. So, and some people need an emotional reaction to back up an idea. So if they hear me angry, it might make them feel passionate about it too. Like, yeah, this is a big deal. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Just because you don't agree with the words that I use doesn't mean that I shouldn't be allowed to talk about it. So anyway, with all that being said, let me see where I'm at. Okay, making good time. So this comment that I got where they said, "Are you sure you white? Love you, girl, I understand," is so funny to me because people really don't think that thin slicing exists. Like, people always saying, how do you know who this person is? You never met him. Sometimes people tell me, you don't know me because you don't know enough about me to know who I am. People reveal themselves every day. This person said, "Are you sure you white? Because there's so many things about me that just doesn't compute with a white person." I would have to have a very unique circumstance to behave this way and be white. So that was them thin slicing that I'm not. There's like, really? But no, I'm not white at all. Like, at all. Like, I cannot check Caucasian on the fucking checkbox. But anyway, so I speak from an outside perspective with all groups. When I talk about women, oftentimes you'll hear me say they. I'll be like, they feel this way and they're like this and you're not helping them. You know, I'll talk like that even though I'm a woman. I identify as a woman. I am a woman, all that. But I'll still do that if I'm talking about, it doesn't matter what group. It could be men, women, young, old, smart, stupid, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what group it is. I could literally be talking about people with chronic depression. I have chronic depression. I'll still say they because of what I already explained. So I also do that because I think that not only does it confuse people and put them in a state of cognitive dissonance, which challenges them to be intellectual if they can push through that cognitive dissonance and do that, but it also, even though I think it's important sometimes to hear a perspective from someone who's part of a group, I think it's equally as important to hear people outside of that perspective speak on something. So it puts me in this position where instead of me putting myself in or out the group, I just say they. And you can decide. Because people always tell you, well, you have a bias because you're a part of the group. And if you're not in the group, they're like, well, you have a bias because you're not even a part of it. You're speaking from the outside. So either way, you're gonna call me biased, right? So that's why I'm just like, they. Fuck it. They. Fuck you guys. They. Okay? But yeah, with all that being said, I'm not gonna stop talking the way that I talk, because the other thing is, even if you police language, first of all, I'm honestly, I'm just gonna say it, I'm sick and tired of white people trying to tell black people how to talk. Like, I really am, okay? Especially when today's video game culture, if you go on any MMORPG, all the fucking male characters talk like this the whole time. They're just like, yo, what's up? Yeah, like my homies, I'm gonna be chilling with my homies. What's up, dog? Oh, what you gonna be doing? Oh, yo, for real? Yeah. That's tight. Okay, yeah, how you doing? You get on voice chat with these motherfuckers and they're like, well, you know, yeah, I'm going to be calculating the DPS margin that I need to reach if I min-max my sword now and I fuse it with the blade that I just bought, and I can do that, and that way I can hopefully add to the overall DPS of the group, because if we don't kill Vecna in the next like 3 minutes, it's going to die. So just give me a second, let me just enchant my blade. It's like, they be the whitest of white people I've ever fucking heard in my life. Like, they'll be on video call. You can see their face in these groups. They just the whitest, most shriveled up little nerds. And they don't talk nothing like that on voice chat. And then the whole time in text, it's just like, yo, what's up, dog? Yeah, bruh. I'm just like, fuck you. And they be the same ones who be laughing at the way that black people talk, which I said is racist. If you're gonna use someone's culture to make yourself sound cool and interesting, but then you mock that same culture when they're doing it themselves, you are racist. And I know that means I'm saying most male gamers are racist. They fucking are. I know people are gonna be offended by that, but they are. So anyway, my point is, I'm getting sick and tired of these motherfuckers trying to tell me how to speak. I really am. People think that saying crazy is offensive, and this is coming from someone who was traumatized at the idea of being called crazy for her mental illness, which I will get into eventually. I was traumatized from it, and even I do not think that it's offensive to call someone crazy. I fucking say it all the time. Out of all these offensive words, one that I don't say is faggot. It just sounds funny. It just sounds weird. Like, if you ever try to insult someone by calling them a faggot, unless you're making yourself sound stupid on purpose, like, it's just funny to me. So I can't take that word seriously. But I still think it's okay for people to say it. So it's just language. You got to get past the language, because I'm just going to tell you this right now. You're never going to stop black people from saying the N-word. You never will. If they ever do, it is because they choose to stop saying it because they just felt like not saying it anymore. But you're never going to stop them from fucking saying it. And if you're white and you're saying it, and again, you're mocking that same culture, you are fucking racist. That is a form of racism. I don't give a fuck if a white person wants to say the N-word. If they're speaking up for black people, supporting black businesses, if they understand people, that's fine. If you're one of those white people that, you know, shit on all races equally, I don't agree with that. But if you're shitting on your own race too, like I think Ralphie May is one of them, and he says those words, then whatever, I don't care. But if you're only using it to make yourself cool, go fuck yourself, okay? I don't know where I'm gonna put this in, but I also want to say, like, even if you got to stop people from using the words you didn't want them to use online, they're still gonna say it in real life. Like, they're gonna say it in their circles. It's not gonna fix it. Telling someone this word is bad does not fix the issue, because the word is not bad. Their reason for using it is what makes it bad. The context. This includes who they are, what race they are. That has to do with their reasoning. Like, black and white people have different reasons for using the N-word. They do. It doesn't mean that no white person can use it. It doesn't mean no black person can use it or whatever. It just means they have different reasons. So telling either of them you can't say it is a dumb fucking argument. Because it's a word. It is a word. So anyway, now you guys have a better understanding of my thumbnails, how I talk, my editing, all that stuff. I do like confusing people. I like triggering their cognitive dissonance. This will make some people think, oh, so you want people to attack you then, don't you? No, I'm definitely offended when you attack me, because I'm offended that you're so stupid when in a state of cognitive dissonance. But I think it's healthy to trigger people's cognitive dissonance, because y'all need to fucking learn how to not live your life in a state of confusion. Like, are you missing the point? Or are you missing the point? So anyway, one other thing I want to tell you guys that you are not ready to hear, okay? Like, not only have I known someone who's worked with mentally ill kids, I've been around mentally ill people, and I've talked to people who, just all sorts of people. So the point is, people who take care of autistic kids will use the R word about the kids. They don't say it to the kids, but sometimes they'll make lighthearted jokes about it. But they genuinely care for those kids. Like, they cry for those kids. They will die for those kids. They protect those kids, but they might make a joke. They don't view them as stupid. That's not where they're coming from. There's literally this term called retard strength, which is like specific strength that a mentally ill person would have. That's a word people use to describe a situation where somebody is like having a moment where they have this insane strength and the caretakers have to deal with it. They don't mean any offense by it, and they take care of them. The world just isn't what you think it is. People are allowed to use these words. Some of the people who use these words will be there for those kids more than anyone else in the world would. So obviously that means that they're not coming from a place of offense. And again, some people who are mentally ill use those words themselves and are okay with other people using them. So if somebody wants to say gay in a, way where it's like, oh, that's fucked up, they want to say that's gay, man. If they want to say retarded, whatever, they're just words. It's all about the context. We have to focus on the context if we're going to argue that these things aren't okay. Because anyone who says you don't get to decide if it's okay, well, who let you decide? Logical fallacy. You're not going to convince everybody with that type of an argument. You're not going to convince most people, let alone the people doing the thing you don't want them to do. So anyway, with all that being said, I'm outing myself after fucking 6 years or something, 8 years. I don't know how long it's been since I talked about my race. I'm outing myself. I am African American, and that'll probably be the last time I talk about it. I don't know. Maybe I'll bring it up again. I don't know. But yeah. So you guys tell me what you think on all this stuff about language. So anyway, just be more productive and more critical. You tell me what you guys think about all this. That's all I had to say for this. I have no idea what I'm gonna draw. But yeah. Thank you all for watching. Maybe I'll show you this picture I was working on. Maybe I'll do that. She don't look nothing like she's supposed to though, so when I finish it, she'll probably look completely different. We'll see. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.